The DNC announced way back in March that they were hiring an army of lawyers to throw their competitors off the ballot. This is the Democratic Party that claims to be defending democracy. You know, they're destroying democracy supposedly in order to defend it. We haven't seen them defend it yet. They've also advertised for infiltrators and spies to mess up our ballot drives and our organizations. You know, we are specifically in court now in several states fighting them. Their intention is to drain our resources and to stop us from making further progress. We're currently on the ballot for a majority of voters and a majority of the Electoral College. We are truly contesting for power, and they are doing their best to try to disrupt that. And then most recently, they're now tying up the public funding that we qualified for, $270,000, that we very much need to keep going. And you know, so we're encouraging people to own this fight, you know, to crowdfund this fight, because we are the one anti-genocide, anti-war, pro-worker, climate emergency choice that is already on the ballot for a majority of voters. The DNC.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is a fundraiser, obviously. So all of you guys who are tuning in have donated at least $10 or more, which we are so appreciative of. As you can see, the DNC is at it again, expectedly, unfortunately, but we kind of always know what we're up against, and at least there's no surprises. But of course, Dr. Jill Stein is here to join for the incredible guests we have coming up. Thanks so much for joining us, Jill.
What an honor. Thank you so much, Joy, for bringing us together. Like, we're so reminded now why we fight and why we need a people-powered choice in this election.
We do, absolutely. Of course, I'd be remiss not to talk about Genocide Joe. Big news yesterday, kind of expected, but do you think this changes anything at all with the campaign?
Nothing is different. I think what's different is that there's a huge media circus right now, and the Democratic Party can pretend that it has put its dysfunction behind it. But Kamala Harris has yet to open her mouth. And, you know, while there's a really intensive PR campaign going on right now, basically nothing has changed. And we've seen over $80 million pour in to the campaign for Kamala Harris. This is the biggest take of money in a 24-hour period in the history of presidential elections, which tells you exactly what the drivers here are. Joe Biden's fundraising had nosedived. It was, you know, it had taken a huge crash. It was down like 75%. And it was clear that the donors were making their choice. They no longer wanted Joe Biden. Now they have a pretense of an effective campaign. But this is, you know, a campaign for Wall Street and the war machine. Nothing is different between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, except maybe that she can string a couple sentences together, hopefully, but we have yet to see. You know, she typically does a kind of word salad, but that's better than what Joe Biden could do. This is a crisis of the Democratic Party's own making. They pretended, they circled the wagons around Joe Biden. They prevented an actual primary from taking place. So there was not really an opportunity for the people to be heard. There were 0 debates within the Democratic Party. Several primaries were actually canceled. You know, so this was a dog and pony show from the beginning. It finally couldn't be suppressed anymore, that they basically did not have a candidate who could stand on his own 2 feet. And at the last minute, they had to, you know, regime change him. And he was anointed into the process. He, you know, both in 2020 as well as in the current election, there was not a democratic process. And he was, you know, he effectively had the election made for him when Obama convinced all the other centrist candidates to pull out at once and throw their support to him so that he could win. But, on his own, he was not winning. He, had a miserable campaign, and he required really a concocted promotional campaign to seem like he was winning. And that's how he came to be president. And the process was being railroaded again. And, and it has fallen apart. And lo and behold, the Democratic Party ruling elites have swept in again, along with donors, to anoint Kamala Harris as the stand-in for Joe Biden, who shows no capability whatsoever, really, of being a voice on behalf of the American people. And that's what's really being lost in all of this. This whole dog and pony show, this three-ring circus, this media zoo going on right now. The needs of the American people are being completely suppressed. And the Democrats' strategy is let's avoid the disaster of the Republicans. That's their whole issue. It's fear-mongering against Republicans. And the Republicans' issue, as we just saw at the RNC, that the Republican National Convention, is mainly fear-mongering. It's concocted fear-mongering about migrants. Migrants actually make the country safer. They dilute out the inherent violence of the American population. They do not bring in fentanyl. Fentanyl is brought in by Americans, by red-blooded USA citizens who are bringing it over the border themselves, not through migrants, but through citizens of the U.S. going through actual portals of entry. So all of this is made up. Migrants are actually an economic boon to our economy. They need to be screened upon entry. We need an Ellis Island type system that screens migrants when they come in, that provides them their papers. They go to work, and then basically they are an economic engine for our local communities and for the nation. So the fear-mongering around migrants is completely made up. It's absolutely BS, but that's what this election is made out of the immigrant bashing by Republicans, and then the Democrats in turn fear-mongering about the Republicans. There's nothing real here. There's nothing actually about the American people who are struggling to survive paycheck to paycheck, who cannot afford to keep a roof over their heads. Actually, 50% of Americans are paying at least 30 to 50% of their income to keep a roof over their heads. This is an absolute disaster. Some 8 million people per year go into poverty just because of their medical costs. 100 million people dealing with medical debt. 1 out of every 4 people who develops cancer will lose their house or their or their savings just trying to deal with the cost of their cancer. And by the way, cancers are going up, especially in young people right now. This is an absolute all-out disaster for the American people, and that is completely lost in the three-ring circus going on right now, in the fear-mongering. They are fear-mongering because they don't want to talk about what the American people actually need and how we can fix this crisis, how we can create Medicare for all and save $500 billion a year at the same time that everybody gets covered comprehensively. We can cut the military budget in half at least and free up at least $500 billion to spend on our true needs. We can create a federal rent control program, build social housing, prohibit the private equity corporations from coming in and gobbling up our housing. We have a fixable crisis here in basically every dimension of our lives. And this is why there is such a frenzy now to distract from the reality of what our lives are like. Because if the American people have a say in this, we're going to dramatically transform our future and this election, which is why it's so critical that we get on the ballot. And I'm so appreciative that you are hosting this event tonight to really crowdfund this fight, because the Democrats are pulling out all the stops, their army of lawyers, their job postings for infiltrators and spies, and then basically hijacking our public funds. They're pulling out all the stops to prevent us. We're already on the ballot for a majority of voters, but we want to be on the ballot for all voters. That way they can't silence us. 1 million people are predicted to die, between 500,000 and 1 million have been predicted to die in the coming month alone in Gaza. So every day, you know, just horrific new atrocities are rolling out. So this election right now, this fight to get on the ballot, is to show the empire that we're not going to take this sitting down, that we are mobilized, we are organized, and we will be challenging power. So this is a winnable fight in so many different ways. We define the win, but there are many ways that we can win this, which we could talk about later. But having your support is the name of the game right now.
And for those watching, you may know, since you're supporters, but on Jill's website, Jill Stein 2024, you can print out petition papers in order to get ballot signatures for your areas. I've gotten signatures in Lancaster, Harrisburg, and several different cities around in Pennsylvania where I am. Oh, Matt, thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, it's very simple, you know, and they don't have to be registered green. It's nothing like that. You just print them out, have people sign it. I believe in Pennsylvania, we need 2,500. However, of course, we're trying to get 5,000 because we've been there and this one doesn't match and this one's not a real person and all those things. So, you know, we do double what we need to do just in case. So definitely keep that in mind.
If you go to the ballot access map, and Matt, if you can pull that up, it's like on the homepage, just look at the, yes. So you're basically clicking on the drop-down menu for ballot access from the homepage, and that takes you to this map. If you then click on your state, you can basically, it will tell you who to contact there, where you stand. So this says Ohio. I didn't quite catch that, but yeah, all right. Signatures needed, 5,000. Signatures collected, 11,500. Let's hear it for Ohio. Go Ohio.
Wow, nice. Totally yes, and awesome. Our first guest is from Ohio. Nice.
Oh, that's really great. So, and it tells you, it should tell you who to contact there as well. Yeah, okay, so it gives you the contact. So you can help do this. It doesn't have to be your states. Almost all states allow anybody to come and help with the signature drive. So basically, if you just check in with the contact person, you'll get all the details on how we can do this as a grassroots movement. And anybody can contribute to the campaign. By contributing to the campaign, you help us make up for this shortfall. There is a shortfall that's been inflicted on us because the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, was supposed to transfer some $270,000 to us to finish up the ballot drives. So surprise, surprise, they're holding on to that money. And, you know, it's not rocket science why they are holding on to this money, because
you know
they
where
do not.
it's going, like what it's being put towards. Is it just sitting there?
So there are two things here. One is that there used to be over $400 million in that fund, which is not enough for like a Trump or a Kamala Harris. You know, she raised $85 million here in 24 hours. So it's like 4 or 5 times that, you know, which they would go through really fast. These are billion-dollar campaigns and more. But for us, you know, we are a very low budget campaign. We are people powered, so we don't need the same amount of money. Anyhow, they raided that fund. That fund of public money comes from people when they're paying their income tax. There's a little box that you can check off or not that says you're gonna donate, if you want, $3 to having a public funding pot so that candidates have another choice besides having to go after deep pockets and, and corporate, warmongers and so on to raise money. Instead, we have public funding. As far as I'm concerned, as far as many of us are concerned, the whole thing should be public funded. There should be no private money in our elections. This should not be about whether you happen to be a billionaire or you happen to have billionaire supporters or you happen to have a big political machine behind you. This should be about what the candidate is running on. So they rated this fund down to, I think it's 17 million, which is still way more than what we need, but there's no way in hell that a Democrat or a Republican are going to accept the public funding there, because the limit is like some 17 million, something like that. And if you accept public funds, then you can't take private money. So it's a complete joke that they're refusing to give us the money that we have qualified for and desperately need, because they say that the priority when the funds get short, when they get tight, they have to wait to see what the general election candidates are going to do. And if any of them want to run on public funding, they would have priority. But there's no way in hell that any of the major party candidates are going to limit themselves to $17 million or whatever it is, some small amount of money. They're not going to do that. So this is being used as an excuse to withhold our funds until the Democrats and Republicans have held their conventions, they have their nominees, and then the FEC asks, no longer Biden, Kamala Harris and Trump, whether they are going to run on public money. What a joke. And then it's once they've refused to run on public money, then we can get it. But conveniently, that's after the ballot drives are already done. So maybe we could pay debt with it. But if they decide to otherwise appropriate that money, because they could do that, they could decide to give it away. If they do that, then we're stuck with this huge debt, which is why we're encouraging people, let's crowdfund this. Let's not depend on empire and oligarchy in order to have a democracy. The system is outrageous. If we are in power, that will change and we will have a publicly financed election system. But until we are in power, you can be sure that it will be the predators who are running the show. So the bottom line is our funds might get matched, but they might not. We can't count on it. We can keep our fingers crossed, but it won't come until it's likely too late. And we've tried going to court. We've been there and done that. And it gobbles up your resources. And the courts in general are completely indifferent to public funding and to third parties. They could care less, to tell you the truth.
Right.
So we have a big fight on our hands, but we're reminded of that every day. We have a fight on our hands to remain housed, to try to find health care, to try to be able to afford your medications, which, just, what is it? Some huge, I think it's 18 million people per year cannot afford their medicine. Insulin has not quadrupled, it's gone up sixfold in like the last 10 or 20 years. So we have a system that is in a complete meltdown right now, and we have no choice but to stand up and fight back, both to end the genocide in Gaza and to end this crushing inequality and climate collapse and endless war verging on nuclear. There's every reason in the world for us to stand up and fight back. We have to do that together. And if we do it together, we are unstoppable. I think more people are in rebellion now than has ever been the case. So it's very exciting. That's why they are working so hard now to change the subject and to try to make you feel that, Kamala Harris is running so strong. How could we be such fools to think that we could, ever have a fighting chance here in this system? Well, it's up to us. No one is going to do it for us. We need to stand up and demand that we have an America that works for all of us, because if left to their own devices, it will continue working for the 1%, and that's it.
Absolutely. And our first guest is a warrior who knows firsthand how to fight the power. Miss Krissy Hylton from East Palestine. Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Krissy.
Hi, Jill. Nice to see you.
Oh, good to see you.
So Krissy, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel and seen her on before, she is in East Palestine, Ohio, which is still suffering more and more every single day. Jill was gracious enough to accept my proposal to do a town hall with me in East Palestine for the residents. I think I know there's a huge, stereotype that, oh, they're Trump country, whatever. Well, Jill Stein, Green candidate, went to East Palestine East Palestine and really connected with these people. And some of them were like, I didn't know there was a Green Party, but this is amazing. So it's about reaching everyone. It's about talking to everyone. And Krissy, let me ask you, it was about 2 weeks after Biden came, after over a year of waiting. He didn't meet with any residents except 3 that were handpicked who ended up having connections to the Dems. What was it like for a presidential candidate to then come like 2 weeks later and do a town hall and actually listen to you and your community?
It was refreshing. It truly was refreshing to be heard. We've been silent so much. Unfortunately, nothing has changed. It's only getting worse by the day.
Now, you
So,
guys are still you had the decision of the lawsuit, and I'm so proud of you because you did exactly what I hoped I would have done. And you basically said, no, I'm taking this a step further. I am not accepting your pennies. We are, taking this on with our own lawyers. It was an extremely complicated process where Norfolk Southern essentially wanted to give you $70,000 per household,
mhm.
and which is literally nothing. But then on top of that, they also said any assistance you've received for any temporary housing or hotels or anything will be deducted out of that. So most people would have gotten zero.
Oh, they would have owed. They would have owed.
Oh, yes, true. They would have owed.
Yeah, they would have owed. I don't know how they would actually do that. The 4 leads that I feel totally have our blood all over their hands, as well as Norfolk Southern and the EPA. So for the life of me, I can't seem to understand where the compassion has gone in our country and why greed just runs and runs and runs, and evil doesn't even hide itself anymore. It's very disheartening. It sucks the hope right out of you for change. Then you meet extraordinary people like Dr. Jill Stein that showed up, that came, that listened, that spoke with everyone, that was in attendance and stayed later and spoke, talked, prayed with. That made a big difference in believing in something again. It's just, once you've dealt with this for a year and a half and repeatedly being kicked when you're down and disappointed, there's definitely has to be change in our government. This cannot go on any longer.
Absolutely. And I know you and Ashley were sharing some of the the symptoms, the ailments that it's only gotten worse. I'm always getting texts, people are in the hospital and everything like that. And Jill, you were kind of astounded with just how many things are happening and how there's just no concern. As a doctor, just even hearing even half of what's going on, what's your reaction to that?
It's really infuriating that our agencies that are supposed to be defending people who are subjected to environmental assault, you're the ones that are supposed to be protected. But hearing your description, Krissy, of what went on, and reading about it, that and your work too, Joy, which has been really wonderful, basically calling out the Ohio Department of Environmental Protection, whatever its name is, as well as the regional branch of the EPA. They're basically working with Norfolk Southern, and they were doing a cover up. They they allowed the spill, the chemical spill, to be ignited, which was such a catastrophic thing to do in the first place. And then Norfolk Southern should have just had their pants sewed off of them for having allowed this spill. The fact that these incredibly toxic chemicals are being transported through our communities to start with, and these train crashes happen all the time. It's just luck of the draw which ones happen to have cars that are loaded with really toxic stuff and which ones don't. It's just outrageous from the get-go. And the fact that the Railroad Workers Union had tried to address these safety concerns, and the Congress, including the squad and the Democrats and Joe Biden, who pretend to be a friend of labor, that they forced the union to accept a contract that they had already rejected. They basically tore in half the key power of unions to defend themselves and defend workers. They utterly destroyed the right to strike and inflicted these very dangerous conditions where you have people who are exhausted. It's now like 2, or if you're lucky, 3 people on a train that can be 1 to 2 miles long. So they have a huge amount of, turf to cover. And there are many conditions on the trains which are really dangerous and vulnerable to start with. So it's like people and safety and workers and communities and the environment are like the last concern of all. And to see all these groups pile on with each other and just basically rally around protecting profits and allowing people, not only allowing people to be injured, but then to basically assault and harass the victims and to pressure them and denigrate them and smear them for standing up to try to assert their rights and protect themselves. It's just jaw-dropping. It's just incredible. And Krissy, you and the community have so much, integrity and power that you're somehow able to keep fighting this. It's such an inspiration that you are. And, it's my hope that we put the fear of the community into the EPA, so that they know that there is a powerful force here that's rallying for East Palestine and for communities across the country, so that we not only prevent these kinds of outrageous accidents from happening in the first place, but that we ensure that the polluters pay. Those who are abusing their workforce and the community have to pay for this damage. And it's just outrageous that you, the victims, are paying. You're being financially destroyed. Your homes are destroyed. You've had to move out. I mean, given the condition of your home, I presume you are not able to move back in because this stuff just doesn't go away. What is the condition of your home now, Krissy?
Well, they're trying to end my relocation. So They're trying to force us back or force us to sell. But I am waiting on one round of independent testing to come in. And I had another independent tester that my home shows formaldehyde now. And that was a byproduct of the burn. So it's just Norfolk's gift that keeps on giving. What we unearth and uncover in East Palestine. And, they found the fourth pocket of vinyl chloride not too long ago. And there's a lot more. From a report that I seen, there's probably maybe 114 left of them. It's just when they want to say that they found them and when they want to attempt to clean it up. But the community's very much still in danger from these chemicals, and we still need help. And relocation is a must for anyone having issues. Once everyone's fully informed about the risks, when the EPA steps in and stops Norfolk's testing and starts testing on their own, because after the NTSB hearing, that revealed that their testing isn't up to par. So somebody needs to step up and do the testing and then have them pay them for the testing. Because now when you have Jennifer Homendy stating things like they tried to do the testing with store-bought vinyl chloride, where's our government right now? Where are they? Why are they not helping? We're not going to stop until we get our families safe. They have a choice now, and the world is watching them. The world is watching Michael Regan, Deborah Shore, at the EPA step up and do the right thing, help the residents.
Absolutely.
And face criminal charges, because in my eyes, they all should.
Environmental terrorists.
Yes.
Yeah. And they are, they're committing malpractice. They are supposed to be protecting people. They're not protecting people. They're abusing people. They're trying to shame and intimidate people, and, kind of like be the big brother, government agency telling you that you are wrong, that you're making up these symptoms. I mean, it's like outrageous that they're doing this when it's known that this stuff is very toxic, deadly, and it's known that you are exposed to it. It's like, who are these people? What kind of imposters are they? They are supposed to be public servants here protecting the public, and they're not. And it's really important that all of us, wherever you live, understand that you are in the target hairs too. It's not only what might spill in your community, it's what's already in your community. It's what's already in our bodies. How did we get to this problem of lead contamination? Why is it that we all have lead levels? You can go to the bottom of the ocean and there are lead levels at the bottom of the ocean, because our so-called regulatory system has been protecting profits. And it's not like it was never known that these substances are toxic. They were known, like lead goes back to the 1800s, from the first time that colored paint was used outside of homes. And suddenly there was this epidemic of what looked like meningitis among kids. All these kids were paralyzed, and nobody could figure out, why do we have this epidemic of paralyzed children? And then finally they put together, oh my God, it's in the homes that use this lead paint, and the kids were chewing on like porch railings and stuff like that because it tasted good. So it took forever to start getting any kind of protection, even though it was known from the get-go. And same thing is true, a gazillion chemicals. I mean, there are like 20,000 synthetic potentially toxic chemicals, and very few of them have ever been adequately tested. But we have a system that protects the right to use these chemicals, not the right of consumers and the public and the environment to be protected from them. So this is absolutely outrageous. And one of the latest developments here is PFAS, which most people are starting to hear about now, PFAS, which is it's like it's a fire suppressant. It's used to put out fires. It's used by the military all over the place. So water sources around military bases are a major source of contamination. And then 3M, the chemical and consumer product company, they were a major producer as well. So this stuff is now in our bodies. We all have it. And now we're only learning that, oh, gee, it causes cancer, it causes kidney failure. Who knows if it's causing, dementia and, Alzheimer's and all that. It's very hard to prove this stuff because the stuff is too toxic to test on people. So they don't test it on people, and it has, we don't know how much exposure is dangerous and so on. We protect the right of corporations to use this stuff and to pollute the environment and to create toxic stuff in our homes and carry down trains and all that. So this whole system, everyone should know that they are threatened by it. And, we now have rising cancer rates in young people in particular. And the World Health Organization long ago determined that most cancers are environmental. This is not like some God-given thing, and the numbers are going up. It's, crappy corporate food has a lot to do with this as well. But there are all sorts of, these environmental poisons now that we are being subjected to. So it's really, what's happening in East Palestine is sort of the tip of the iceberg here, and we all need to own this struggle and to help fight for the kind of protection that we need. We need to get the chemical companies out of the business of owning the EPA and our other, regulatory institutions and government.
Absolutely. Krissy, thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry, it's a rather short fundraiser, so the next guests are here, but I thank you so much for joining. Oh, and also, before I forget, today is 1 year ago today that I first came to East Palestine, and we had that huge Medicare for All rally. First time I met you in person. And I will be back for the 5th East Palestine visit next month. So I'm sure we'll be getting together. What do you want to leave with the audience as far as, about East Palestine? What do you want them to take away?
The fact that people still need to get out. Put the pressure on your elected officials, I don't care if you call the EPA at 2:00 in the morning. They need the phone calls. They need to be told that we need out.
Absolutely. And especially if you're out of the area, say that you're out of state and everything, so they know this goes way beyond the community. We are outraged all over.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Krissy.
Thank you both.
I will
Thanks
talk
for
to you
leading the
soon.
charge.
Thank you both, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
For sure.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Warrior. She inspires me so much.
They are amazing. Krissy's amazing.
She is. Our next guest, we have 2 Palestinian activists from Pennsylvania. By location, are they here, Matt?
We have one just dropped and they rejoined. Let me bring them in.
Oh, hello. Thanks so much for joining. We have Nadera and Nabeel. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Go ahead, Nadera. Ladies first.
Hello, I'm Nadera Moni. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
Nice to
Nid.
meet you. Yeah, I'm Palestinian, living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, an educator, an entrepreneur in Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Nabeel Hamad, also Palestinian. Nadera is my cousin. Her mother and my mother are sisters.
Oh, sweet.
Actually, we're across the street from each other. She's at her mom's house. I'm at my mom's house.
Oh, sweet.
Funny as that is. Same thing. I run a business didn't really get into any of this or pay attention to any of this until October 7th. I mean, I did. I'd go to protests and I would make my donations and I would get involved, but it's been cranked up, as I think it should be, at least with me, Nadera for sure, and other people, and some others still. I don't think anything will crank them up. It's pretty sad in the Palestinian community. The lady there from Palestine, Ohio. I mean, I pronounce it Palestine. I know the media has changed the pronunciation of the word from, I think, what it should be to Palestine. It's just weird. I don't think that's the way it should be pronounced.
Yeah.
But that's what they do, and I think you guys know that. So yeah, I've always pronounced it Palestine. So I'm going to be in DC in 2 days. I'll be down there for
Me
protest.
too.
Yeah.
Jill,
You too.
you
Yeah.
will be there as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you
Me and my
speaking?
brother and my other cousin. Sorry.
Yeah. Great. Yes, I'm supposed to speak. Yeah. So we're
Awesome.
gonna just hit. We need to arrest the bastard. Is what we need.
That
to
would
do.
be nice. That would
Yeah.
be really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
so also I just saw breaking news that he has just touched down in DC
Wow.
an hour ago. So I know this is conjecture, but my question is, why is he a day early? What is he doing tomorrow? Because
It's 2 days early.
he's
Yeah.
not just hanging out.
Secret
Yeah.
meetings, before the public meeting. Jill, you know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Mhm.
meeting with his supporters here, who are criminals along with him, and who should also be, before the World Court of Justice, who should also have warrants out for their arrest, because they are his enablers, and the violence that they are committing right now, the genocide that they're committing, is just completely off the charts. And I don't know how anyone cannot be fighting this with every fiber of their being right now. I think people are like either blinded or ignorant or asleep at the wheel. Growing up myself after the Holocaust in a Jewish family, it's like we really embrace the idea that, number one, you can't commit genocide, but you also can't be a bystander to genocide. Anyone who is a bystander to genocide allows this to happen. They're enablers. And to me, it's just mind-boggling that people can look the other way. I don't know how they can do it. It's just horrifying. And we have to scream and keep screaming. And Nabeel, yeah, I'd love to hear how do you cope with this? How do you deal with this?
It's not easy. I do what I can when I can. My wife is actually over there right now in Palestine. She goes every summer. So we have. It's nice because there's still mistrust in the charities that are run over there. Some is mistrust and some is just used as an excuse because they don't really want to make any donations. So it goes both ways. But we have access to direct funding straight to people both in Gaza and the West Bank, and we do it on a regular basis. And, we will collect from anybody that wants to collect. And there's people that are literally afraid to put their name on a MoneyGram or a Western Union to send over there. Well, we're not. I always tell them, $100. I don't think you can buy a tank or an F-15 with $100. I think we're safe, or even $1,000. So how do we cope with it? I don't know, man. You do the best you can. Nadera, how do you cope with it?
We try to give back. That's what, we try to help. We actually hosted a kid that we lost on Christmas, and they called it a mistake in the Maghazi camp. We hosted him in 2019 through PCRF, and he came with one leg, went home walking with two, and probably 30 minutes before he passed away, he called me mom. He said, "Mom, it doesn't look good," and that was the last I heard of him. So
sad.
So right now we're still working with Steve. I don't know if you've heard, he's the founder of PCRF, and he's with Heal Palestine. So right now we're starting, we're working and hoping to get another, kids that are coming in from Gaza to get in Harrisburg. They're coming in. We just had one in Philly 2 days ago, and Sacramento's getting, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of kids with amputees that, that's how we're coping. We're trying to do as much as we can.
That's great.
And that's the least we could do right now.
Well, the other coping is what I'm doing right now. Like, I feel good talking to you because I've seen you
Yeah.
on TV. I watched a couple YouTube videos of you.
Yeah.
You mean, you say all the right things. I mean, I heard you talking to the lady from Palestine, Ohio, about the train and all that. And I think, you know, I don't know much about it, so I can't really comment on it. But besides all that, you'll probably have to excuse me. I don't care about anything else anymore. There's nothing. There's all the other topics. I don't give a shit. It's all I care about is what's going on over there. You're the only one I've heard that said the right things. You know, Biden is a fake. Biden has been a Zionist for forever. You know, I'm not anti-Semitic. You know, as you know, I'm Semitic. Nadera is Semitic. You're Semitic, right? I mean, it'd be impossible for us to be anti-Semitic. So, because we are Semitic ourselves, but this is all we care about. I've heard you say good things. I just wanted to get on this call with you. It was neat that I had the opportunity. I did a little bit. I did a couple hours worth of studying, whatever I could find.
Sure.
And you hit all the right notes. So God bless you. And I know you're not doing it because it financially benefits you, because it's exactly the opposite. You know, it's what the other guys do is what financially benefits them. And that's why they do it. I mean,
Jill, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that actually makes you more susceptible to trolls. The fact that you are so pro-Palestine. Like, when I look in your comments and stuff, I'm like, I mean, it's just not sexy for people who are, you know, Democrats and everything. It's just not. And those are the people who always come in our comments and, like, you know, just jump all over us. But you have been, I mean, you got arrested at a Palestine rally. We saw the cops absolutely brutalize Kelly. Shout out to Kelly. We've seen so much violence, and, you know, you were arrested with a number of other people. And that takes guts. I don't know well, you've been arrested more than once so for good reason. But that takes guts. And, you know, that is hardcore Free Palestine. That's one of the reasons I support you. And I agree that, like, I've been an activist for years and I'm passionate about so many things, but this is genocide. So yes, it is the top of everyone's mind. It is so beyond urgent. Nadera, how about yourself? Would you like to add anything on that?
I mean, you hit it all pretty much on the nail on the head. You know, we've been in the encampments as well. Nabeel's wife and I, we cooked, and we've taken, you know, the famous makluba. We flipped it with the students, so we've been supporting. You know, so we're trying to do as much as we can as well. So, you know, watching kids with their heads blown off and limbs, it can't become something that we're just so used to seeing or being okay with. So
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody needs to own this, because we're normalizing the torture and murder of children on an industrial scale. And to think that we're not going to pay a price. We are going to pay a price. We are looking at the destruction of human rights and the destruction of international law. And the U.S. has been able to get away, and we're paying for that. I mean, the U.S. is providing 80% of the weapons, and, you know, we're funding Israel's military and have been doing that for a long time. And way back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense said that Israel is the unsinkable battleship for the U.S. in the Middle East. Why do we need an unsinkable battleship in the Middle East? So we can control Middle Eastern oil. And, you know, this is a problem of empire, and, you know, it's a very big problem. Gaza is the tip of the iceberg. You know, it's like the tip of the spear here. It's a big problem. We're not going to fix it overnight, but we can stop the genocide in the blink of an eye. Could be stopped with a phone call. And, you know, Reagan himself did that, not known to be a peace president or a justice president. He was moved to stop the Israeli army from committing its massacres in Lebanon back in like 1996. And with a phone call, he stopped it. And Biden could do that right now, could have done that ever since October. This could have been stopped. And, you know, this is not something that started on October 7th. And I just always try to make that point so that people understand this is not something that Hamas started. You know, this is something that's been hardwired into Zionism Zionism is a program of ethnic cleansing that has used terror to basically try to push Palestinians out and acquire the land. And yes, many of the Jews who came were fleeing anti-Semitism, but that does not justify having been a victim of genocide, doesn't justify then becoming a perpetrator of genocide. And when the Zionists came, as you were saying, Nabeel, this is not a religion thing. This is a political ideology called Zionism. And it is that political ideology that brought conflict and violence with it, that Muslims, Jews, and Christians were living together in peace for centuries in Jerusalem. And the Zionists drove out not only Muslims, but also Christians and Jews as well. They're at war with all of them. And, this is a horrific movement which has been violent from the start, even from before the state of Israel declared its independence. Violence was being used to drive out Palestinians. So October 7th is just the latest expression of violence breeding resistance to that violence. And, we must stop the genocide. We must stop arming it. We must stop enabling it. And then we have to get down to ensuring that there's full compliance with international law here, which means ending the occupation, which in fact the World Court of Justice just ruled on, that Israel is illegally occupying, the West Bank and Jerusalem, as well as Gaza. This is all an illegal occupation. Israel needs to cease and desist, pay reparations, and allow the right of return. I mean, it's astounding that this court, which is from, people all over the world, including many from Western governments, having looked at the problem, completely align with what the Palestinians have been saying all along. And now there's just another institution of justice, as well as people all over the world, as well as the American people who all agree, and young people on our campuses. We're all aligned. The only ones who are not aligned, that is, who are taking the side of the occupation and apartheid and the genocide, the only ones are our elected officials, who are basically war criminals. We have to call them out. And every time we get on the ballot in another state, we're trying to ensure that there is an anti-genocide candidate on the ballot for all voters across the country, because voters abhor, despise this genocide and want to stop it. So if we have the power to vote on this, all bets are off about what could happen. And just by getting on the ballot, we give them notice that we are getting organized, and we are going to hold them accountable. This is how we can get them to stop even before the November election, just by getting on the ballot. And that's why, we really appreciate your being here tonight to help us raise funds, because that's what the funds are for. The Democrats are withholding the funding. We're supposed to have public funding to be able to get on the ballot and ensure that we are a choice for all Americans. They are holding on to the funds that we have qualified for and are refusing to give it to us, because they are trying to block our progress here to hold them accountable and to stop the genocide. So this is exactly what the fight is about. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that because my mother's neighbor told me a vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Republicans, because obviously that's a pull away from the Democrats. And in my opinion, I don't know who's who anymore, right? Especially on the Palestine issue. Like, there's like one and the same. So like, I think everybody should pull away from those and give a vote to a third party, because they're just not that different anymore. Okay, on domestic issues, yes, they differ. Okay, Supreme Court and stuff like that. I guess other people have different priorities other than me, maybe in Nadera. Like I told you what I care about. I don't really care about anything else anymore. And once maybe something happens in Palestine and we get it somewhat resolved, I could start caring about other things. But I just really don't. So to your point, we're going to pay the price for this. You said that, right? So there was three things about the United States, okay? The whole world. They used to love us, respect us, and fear us, okay? Love, respect, fear. These two are gone. All that's left is fear.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, when they're not laughing at us, they're afraid of it. They're laughing at us all around the world. They're laughing at us. Okay.
Mhm.
So what's left is fear. The love and the respect, guys, is gone. I know people overseas. I mean, I have, my wife, she was born over there. They're laughing at us with the representation that we have and the government that we have and how we support solely, it's a unilateral support to Israel. There's really nobody else. I mean, Britain even weakened it, France and Canada. Like, there's just not nobody left except us. Like, the world is literally laughing at our stupidity in supporting these guys. So you're right. There is a price to pay. It's happening. Furthermore, Summer Lee, she came here. She had a great stance on Palestine. We helped her defeat the AIPAC supported candidate in Pittsburgh. I was very proud of her. Met her. She's a really great girl. Ilhan Omar, she came here to Harrisburg to meet with us. I gave both of them the max. I'm happy to give you something. That's why I'm on this call. I want to support you. You don't have to convince me. Maybe I'll even see you on Wednesday. I don't know if you're going to be there or not, or maybe at least I'll see Joy, but I'm happy to. However it has to happen, you send me some kind of link or something. I'm happy to make a donation to you. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your stance. And I know you're not telling me just what I want to hear because I've already listened to you many, many times. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been on this call. So, I mean, all I could say is God bless you. I wish you all the luck and all the power and all the success because you're the kind of person that should be running this country, not the other bozos that we're going to have to choose from.
Complete
I think
war.
we just got a commercial. Like, I think we just got an ad. That was awesome. Nadera.
And if I could just respond quickly to two things that you said, Nabeel. For one thing, as a member of the Green Party, we adopted this position. We ran Ralph Nader, who is Lebanese himself. He was our candidate in 2000. And in the year 2006, we took a specific position on Palestine and supported BDS and, specifically opposed the apartheid government and the occupation. So we've taken this stand for a long, long time before it was, even topical. We were on the money on this. So you can be sure we have been fighting this fight for a long time. But also the line that you're fed that a vote for me or a vote for a third party is a vote for Trump. Well, like you're saying, why is Trump the greater evil when it's been Biden and the Democrats who've really been the driving force on genocide? Genocide is the trademark. It is the hallmark of fascism. So if people are worried about fascism, well, it's already here. When the cops are bashing in our heads simply for standing up to resist genocide, we have fascism. When we have cop cities that are being built all over the country, and there are some like 70 of them now under construction, and the cops are being trained by the Israeli occupation forces, in these absolutely brutal techniques, when military equipment, armored vehicles and tanks and drones and tasers are being provided to our communities for crowd control, and to assert the kind of violence that the IDF, conducts. We have a problem here, and it's a bipartisan problem. And the myth is that the Democrats are better on domestic policy. They're better on the PR, but if you actually look at the policies themselves, they're not better. I mean, they too are separating families and keeping kids in cages on the border. They too are smearing migrants and targeting migrants and blaming, just inventing a crisis related to migration, which is not true at all. The cause of the migration crisis is actually U.S. foreign policy, which is driving people out of their homes. So the Democrats are very good at the PR and the spin, and even on the environmental policies, they pretend like they're solving the problem, but it's BS. They are not. If you actually are familiar with the details of the policies, they are just as bad as the Republicans. And yeah, absolutely. So I'd say it's really important not to take their propaganda at face value. They would like you to believe that the conflict, that people in Gaza are responsible for the genocide. They want you to believe that. And you can regard their policies about third parties with the same, it has about as much truth to it as their talking points about the genocide. So what they say should just be rejected as a matter of course. We are the ones, who can fix this. The Democrats do not fix it. And in election after election, they make promises that they don't keep. And, they are they're creating war all over the world right now. And what's going on in Gaza is also taking place in lesser degrees all over the world. And it's using half of our budget. So this hurts us here, and it makes it impossible here at home to ensure that we have the policies that we need for housing, for education, for healthcare, and for climate and clean water and all that. We spend so much money on war that it really destroys domestic policy, no matter what kind of lip service they give to this stuff. So it is BS, and it should all be rejected, especially that propaganda that tells you you are powerless. They want you to feel powerless because then you'll be hopeless and you won't hold them to account. So this is all about our standing up and using the power that we have, because most people despise the genocide and they want to stop it now. So if we have the courage of our convictions, we can stop this, and we can create a world that works for all of us. Take it away, Nadera. Sorry to.
Yes, our next guest is here, but I definitely want to hear from Nadera. Any thoughts you want to add, or for the audience to take away?
Like Jill said, our education system, we really need our funds in the U.S. And it's, I just agree with everything that's going on, and I really just want to go visit Palestine and see a free Palestine, and I want to see my people, have the freedom that other countries are able to have, and and live a normal life, and kids, see what our kids are living, and it's not fair that they have to face all this. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all you are doing, because both of you are just helping so much, and thank you for joining and spreading your awareness and what you guys are doing, because it's so important. We need to keep highlighting Palestinian voices. That is so important. And I'm so fortunate that you guys are also in Harrisburg, and we do some great rallies around here. So thank you again so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Can you send a link? What, you guys have a link?
Oh, yeah, we should give that. It's
She
my
has my
name.
text. She
Yeah,
has
we can text it as well, but
She
for
has it.
anyone,
Joy, we've been texting, right?
Yes.
Yes. Or
Yep,
WhatsApp
I
or
will
whatever.
send it
to
to
me.
you.
Yeah. Jill,
Yep.
you earned it. Thank you so much. God
Thank
bless.
you
I
so
really
much.
mean it. I really
Thank
do
you.
not give up. Trump doesn't give up, so you shouldn't give up, all right?
yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
None of us can give up. We
God
need
bless
every
you.
one of
God
us.
bless.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so
Great
much.
Palestine.
Yep, I got my watermelon. Can you see it?
Oh,
Wait,
wow.
wait.
Whoa, that's impressive, Joy.
Wait,
Wow.
where'd it go? Oh.
Oh,
I got the watermelon right next to, I have a key, and I was Googling stuff for Palestine, and I didn't realize that a key actually symbolizes all the homes lost in Nakba. So I got it right under the key, and then it also says revolution right underneath it, coincidentally. So it's like right there. So it just worked out.
it's all there when you need it. That's awesome. And for people who want to know the donation link,
I believe, Matt, don't you have it pinned? Do you have it pinned? I want to say you do. Let me see if I can. A lot of comments. Thanks, guys. Matt, did you were you able to pin the donation link?
Yeah, it's in the comments.
Oh, okay. Can you just post it again, please?
Sure.
And then actually, if you could leave it up on screen, that'd be great too.
Yeah, I can do that. Should I
Thank
bring in our next
you.
guest?
Yes, please.
Actually, I have two.
Oh, Professor Zenkus is first.
Professor Zenkus. All right. Awesome.
Great.
Hello, Saya.
Hi.
Not easy to get a hold of.
Hi.
Nice to see you,
Good to see
Joy
you.
and Bill. How
It's
are you
been
guys
a
doing?
while since you've been on my show, sir.
I know. I remember it was a few years back, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
last I saw Jill Stein was at a fundraiser, another virtual fundraiser. And I do not know why you don't look more tired than you do, because
I know, seriously.
But thank you so much, Jill, for doing all the work you're doing to be our voice. And
Thank you.
I years ago, it actually comes up from time to time. People are like, "Oh, you should run for office," and I'm like, I do not have any desire to do that to myself. And seriously, it's I don't know that people are aware of the sacrifice that it takes, and I just want to thank you. So it's nice to be here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for all the ways that you do the fight. And, we need a big team. We need a big team. We need all of us fighting. And thank you for your wonderful, inspired words and your social media. And, you're just on the money all the time. It's great to hear your voice.
So as a professor, you've been seeing a lot of these protests that have been going on. I'm in Pennsylvania, and Josh Shapiro, who is our governor, who is being floated as president or VP, which is just freaking amazing. He just passed what's called the Stand with Israel Act. And what that means is that when any schools or colleges in Pennsylvania decide to support BDS, they no longer get a single dollar of funding from our state. So it is being held hostage.
It's horrible. I mean, there's two pieces to this that I've been thinking about. And the first is the piece of, well, first of all, there's more than two. There's a whole bunch. One is using the educational system, colleges and universities especially, as a punching bag to quash dissent, and demonizing these students, as Joe Biden did, as many other Democrats did, as a whole bunch of Republicans did, for standing up for what, obviously what we know is right, but using their right, their constitutional right to redress their government, but to stand up to save lives, right? To use them as a punching bag, and you would expect it's a bipartisan piece of legislation. This is something I would absolutely expect from Elise Stefanik, right? Someone like that. I get that's her brand. But when Democrats, especially one who's being considered as on the short list for vice president on the Dem ticket, comes out and supports it, we know this just solidifies what Jill Stein has been saying and what we've been saying for the longest time. There really is, when it comes to some very important issues, there is no difference between the two major corporate parties. And how do you tell me I can't have a right to boycott something? It's just a bizarre, upside down way. And there's anti-BDS laws all over. So, every day there's more people dying, more people starving in Palestine. And I think I saw a post yesterday that someone had put up about, look, and we've said this is not just about Gaza, and it is about Palestine and the West Bank, but it's also about, this is their playbook now. And it breaks my heart as a former Democrat, because there was a time that I was aligned with that party, that it's the Democrats that are perpetrating it. I mean, along with Republicans, but it's a Democratic administration. And if we are okay with this, we know that this is not going to be the last time. And all those things we should have that Jill Stein is fighting for, that I believe in wholeheartedly, and these students believe in. They're so well educated. Healthcare, housing as a right, a livable wage, and it's weird. I've seen polls showing even Republicans think the minimum wage, Republican voters, right, should be over 20 an hour. I think they put it somewhere near 25, and Democrats are a little bit higher. Well, neither party is even talking about it. And, I'm not hearing anybody promising it. So we know that the expense of these policies is not just the misery and death and illness that is happening in the parts of the world that the capitalist empires decide to sink their teeth into. It's also the austerity at home, and that austerity is violence, which is why I get excited about Jill Stein's message. It's not a single issue, and you really do a wonderful job of showing that relationship. And you must, when you were practicing, must have been an amazing doctor, because I think that I embrace the concept of medicine that is more holistic, that understands you don't just have a problem here. I mean, a broken ankle for sure, but you don't have a problem here or a problem there. There's systemic problems, and health happens systemically in our bodies and in society. And I think that from a social perspective in social work. But I don't get this piece, just to wrap this part up. And that is that, like, we're talking about hiring someone for the next 4 years to do a job for us. And they never get to the things that we really need and want and demand. We don't get the healthcare, we don't get the free college, we don't get all the list of things we should be having. I would love, it's funny, when RFK Jr. announced, I know about the vaccine stuff and all, but I was hoping, I had this weird little wish. Imagine if he talks like his father. Imagine if he says, we will eradicate poverty. Because I didn't know a lot about him. And that's not the voice we heard. And it's too bad. Dynasties aside, there was that inkling, and then I heard the speech and I thought, oh, well, that's not happening.
Well, then now his campaign manager is ex-CIA. So there's that.
Well, I don't know if you heard today's news. That this is in the Washington Post today, that after Trump's assassination near miss, RFK got in touch with Trump to see if he could cut a deal. Yeah, are you aware of that? That RFK was trying.
He went to go meet with him the morning he picked.
He wanted a job. He wanted a job, and he would basically endorse Trump, which means he would have suspended his campaign.
Right.
Which to me, and this was all in secret. This is in secret. This has been confirmed by 4 people. They haven't been named. But there are enough people now saying this. 4 people who are reporting it, so it sounds pretty. And to me, if you actually listen to what RFK is saying, it's just so full of smoke and mirrors that this is no surprise at all. And I mean, to me, this is like such an outrageous betrayal of his followers and his donors. And, they were just celebrating that they got this special new deal with libertarians that enables people to contribute $1 million at a time. And they're celebrating this. And I'm saying, what are you celebrating? You're celebrating the further corruption of our political system. You're celebrating that millionaires now have equal access. This is equal access for billionaires is what it is, an equal opportunity, campaign for billionaires. You're celebrating that? Oh, give me a break, and you talk about reforming the corruption of the system. This is the corruption of the system. And now he's caught red-handed, basically betraying his campaign. I don't know. What do his donors, what does his VP candidate think about this? Was she informed that he was basically cutting deals behind her back?
Probably not. Who knows? She is a billionaire too.
Yeah, she's like, whatever.
There's that. But I can't imagine anybody would be happy to clown, to find out that their top of ticket is clownifying themselves by offering to align themselves with the Donald Trump presidency. I mean, Trump is the most, I have a lot of problems with Democrats, but obviously Donald Trump is the most, when it comes to policy, the most unserious candidate we've ever witnessed in our lifetime. There is nothing policy related about what we saw 4 years that made any sense. And to think that you would throw away your career. I got to tell you, power must be a hell of a drug to compromise whatever. I mean, he was an environmental advocate and attorney. He must have some idea who that person is that he just tried to align himself with. It's just,
Well,
it just
in
shows he's
fairness-
not serious either. He's not serious about doing anything good. He's
I mean, in
serious about
fairness,
getting.
he did have brain worms.
I'm serious.
That's what he said. He had
Mhm.
brain worms. So, I mean, I don't know. My first reaction when I saw that he met with Trump was, why don't you have time to debate my girl, but you have time to just all of a sudden go meet with Trump? Because I troll him every day. I'm like, when are you going to debate Jill? When are you going to debate Jill? Because he is too scared to debate you. And he knows, especially about Palestine, he will just get wiped across the floor.
And he's pretending to be a peace candidate. You're not a peace candidate if you're supporting a genocidal war, which is in the process of escalating to potential nuclear conflict. So he's just so full of deception. I think that's why he does not want to debate anybody who would call him out. Now, Trump and Biden would not call him out on that because they're equally guilty. But he does not want to talk with any real candidates, any real peace candidates. So it's like all hell is breaking loose within this facade of a campaign. Just the whole edifice of the 2024 presidential election is just so full of toxic deception. It's just for all the world to see right now, and in the circus going on around Biden's retirement and this $85 million, highest number ever raised. It's like people are celebrating that, they're celebrating the stranglehold of big money on this election system, which gets bigger by the day. It gets more corrupt by the day. It becomes more and more, a thing that is done to working people that has no concern whatsoever for the interests of working people. This is all about, Wall Street and the war machine.
And I just want to say, I talk to my students. They're not just scared of world events that are happening now and very concerned about the world events, scared for their futures. Will they be able to afford to live? They're in a world.
See, Anthony just froze for me. Joy, did he freeze for you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe he'll come back in a second, but I want to underscore that. Yeah. And polls now show that half of young people are, describe themselves as hopeless about the future. And 1 out of every 4 young people have contemplated harming themselves within 2 weeks of the poll. This is like the world that has been created by, end stage capitalism, basically, and endless war and the war machine. And it's all about who's the latest cash cow for them. And young people are a major cash cow for this predatory economy. And it's just, this is fixable. This is absolutely fixable. We need to abolish student debt, make public higher education free, implement rent control, build social housing, declare the environmental emergency. That unleashes over $500 billion in funding immediately on day one. This is part of the day one agenda, not only to stop the genocide, but also declare the environmental emergency. And, this is fixable stuff, and begin working for a Medicare for all system that covers everyone and saves us over $500 billion a year at the same time that we cover everyone comprehensively. So this is fixable. This is why we need to be on the ballot. And I hope people will throw something into the pot tonight to help us keep up the fight, because the empire is quaking in its boots. They know that we are coming. And if we are able to get on the ballot, we need these dollars to do that. They are withholding our matching funds right now because they're terrified of what we represent. And I think this is a really devastating revelation about RFK. We may see a lot of people move out of RFK now that they know that he has basically betrayed his followers. He's in this for a job, and really very deceptive about what he believes and who he aligns himself with. You know, so we could see him fade from the scene. The media, mainstream media, has been very careful not to acknowledge our campaign, because we are, I think, what they are very much afraid of. They don't mind talking about RFK because they can marginalize him. He doesn't represent what large numbers of people want. I mean, there is a constituency for him, but most of the world is not libertarian. Most of the world does not pretend, you know, that we can solve these problems. Just everybody build your own castle, you know, and we'll get it, you know, we'll get it. Right. People don't buy that. You know, we reflect what the American people really are demanding right now. This is what they're terrified of. So if we can get together the money, whatever you can throw into the pot, it, you know, it makes a huge difference and will help us get on the ballot. We're on the ballot for a majority of voters right now. We need to be on the ballot for all voters, so we can stand up and demand that we have an America that works for all of us and a world that works for all of us. This is within our reach. If we stand up and stand together, we are totally unstoppable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was
Joy.
just going to say, our next guest is here, but Professor Zenkus, I want you to take us out. What do you want to add, and what do you want to leave people with about the campaign?
This is a moment that we have been given to make a decision that will affect our lives and the lives of people around the world for decades to come. And I want people to have something that I think is an overused word, like hope, but I want there to be a belief and an understanding that as defeated as we are made to feel, as tired and exhausted as we are often made to feel. And by the way, hey, I'm not a full professor. I'm working class. I live and die on the courses they offer me each year. Everyone I know, my friends, everyone is struggling. It doesn't have to be this way. I know there's a lot of fear. What if I vote for a third party? What if I vote for Stein and this happens and that? The fear needs to be pushed away, and it needs to be replaced with a belief, and I mean this in a non-religious way, a spiritual knowing and understanding. Humans have survived, the modern humans, for the past few 100,000 years, because we've been able to work together to solve our problems. We absolutely have the capacity. And when you think your voice doesn't matter, that is absolutely not true. And the way the Green Party has been treated is evidence. They are terrified because they know when the people stand together, we do win. And there's a long history of that, from the ending of slavery to child labor to women getting the vote to civil rights, and we can go on and on. It always, always works. And they know it. We need to remind ourselves of it. So please, if you're not sure, please donate, consider a vote for Jill Stein, and get involved any way you can. And thank you, Joy, and thank you, Jill, for speaking with me tonight.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. He's wonderful. Yeah, and I mean, he's so right. I mean, but you know, I don't feel guilty at all. Like, to be honest, like, Joe never had my vote. Kamala never had my vote. They didn't lose me. Like, people are saying, you're taking votes away from them. No, I'd be writing someone in if it wasn't for Jill. Like, I wouldn't vote for them anyway. And that's what they did in 2016. It was very much, well, they took these votes away. No, we were voting for her because that was the only person we wanted to vote for. That's called democracy, having a choice. That's what democracy is. How fascinating. Let's see, I think Ron is here. Is Ron?
Oh, cool.
There he is.
Hey, there he is. Hey, Ron.
Oh, nice, everybody. Good to see you.
Hanging in there. Ron, I got something funny I think you'll laugh at. Since you're the comedian, I held it for you. Okay, so yesterday Biden dropped, and it was literally National Ice Cream Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not know
I'm
that.
not even kidding you. I looked it up because I saw a meme and I was like, holy crap, it literally was National Ice Cream Day.
That is wow. Yeah, that is some interesting alignment there. I've been so just putting aside that, my politics are far to the left of the Democratic Party as of both of yours, but like just looking at it objectively, has it blown your minds the way like the Democratic Party inside is fighting about this and how some of them are saying that like they sabotage Joe Biden? Like just from the guy's sick. The dude is ill. Like how someone gave this analogy, and this was someone saying that they were out of line for what they did to Joe Biden. They were like, if you're on a plane and it's about to crash, do you replace the pilot with the first officer? And I was just like, if the pilot is incoherent and may not realize they're flying a plane, yes, that's exactly what you do.
Oh my God.
Like, it's just been interesting for me to watch. Just like I don't understand what the conflict is.
Well, I think, I mean, this is like made me think about this too. It makes your head spin. And I think a lot of it is that people realize that Biden is not flying the plane. There's a whole other crew which is flying the plane, a crew which is not publicly accountable, that answers to no one, and it's a really dangerous crew to have. But, this is just more commentary on the state of the American, political system. It is toxic throughout. There's nothing about it that is sane or rational. And there's such a incredibly toxic spin campaign going on right now. They're really trying to make you forget that this system is inherently really, really sick, and that there is no difference there's zero daylight between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. There is no change here whatsoever except for a mask, but the policies are exactly the same. And it's like the donors are just going bananas here, contributing this $85 million, the record ever. And it's like, we're supposed to celebrate that. That's supposed to be like
just 10 people. Though.
They are. What's that?
It could just be 10 people though. We don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. I mean, this could all come through super PACs and victory funds.
Right.
And if that is the case, and in particular victory funds, because I don't think they're counting super PACs here. I think this is like victory funds, which is a magical solution by which you can donate. It's at least, I don't know what the limit is now. It was 600,000 was the limit back in 2016. But I've heard since RFK proudly announced that, isn't it great that non-uniparty can also, can also sell out, can sell its soul. Isn't that wonderful that uniparty can now be a vehicle for big corporate money to assert its stranglehold? Isn't that great? Let's all cheer, because there is equality of corruption, basically, a legally corrupt system of bribery. It now applies to everybody, but that's victory funds. Victory funds now have a limit, which is somewhere over $1 million. So it could have been just 85 people.
Yeah. But it appears, I mean, it's that,
but it's not.
The people, they're just like, see, everyone does love her. It's great. She's going to win.
Yeah.
She's going to win.
Yeah.
But
they're asserting power around this. And what are they celebrating? They're just celebrating the stranglehold of big money that's just bigger than ever, which is not about us. It's like the needs, the state of emergency that Anthony was just talking about. Everybody's life is just hanging by a thread right now. And there's no mention of that. We're too busy talking about the immigrant threat from the Republicans, and then the Democrats are talking about the Republican threat. And that's like the beginning and end of the conversation. And this has nothing to do with the absolute crisis that we, the people, face every day from the minute we open our eyes in the morning and lift our head from the pillow. We are just fighting the crisis. Everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they create a fantasy. I mean, you have people going, "Oh yeah, the economy's great. Things are," and it's like, what are you looking? Oh, jobs are up. Well, yeah, but you need 3 and 4 of them to survive. Like, and it's the same talking points every 4 years, and it's the same. And yeah, this whole thing with Biden, I mean, it's just been such a charade because they're just like, oh, well, they didn't want him. Look, the donors were fine with Rip Van Reagan. They were worried Rip Van Reagan couldn't win because he's clearly unwell. So now they have Kamala, which again, policy wise, you're right. There is no difference. And look, there's not going to be, it's not like they were going to have a straight up primary where there were going to be like a left wing option or anything like that. And we all knew this. It's like, well, they'll just replace him with someone who's not ill. It will be like someone not sick. Same policies.
But with identity
not
politics to exploit it as well.
Yeah.
Which is
Presumably, yeah.
You know, I've never seen you do that in 2016 or now. I have never once seen you say first woman president, first Jewish president, because you know that you run on issues. And it is so infuriating as a woman when I have women who sit there and say, you're a sexist if you don't like Hillary. You're a sexist if you don't like Kamala. And it's like, I would love a first woman president, but I would like them to actually be good. Like to actually be have character and be a good person. That would be nice.
and to like actually address the state of emergency that is like swamping us, from all directions. And the current zoo, this 12-ring circus going on, is just a complete distraction from what really should be front and center now. It's just all about creating a party light atmosphere and this feel good thing for big money to, have its worldview affirmed here. It's just
Absolutely.
such yes.
Absolutely.
Well,
Ron,
now there's a little bit of energy in the horse race, though. Like now there's a little bit like there's some new drama going on. I mean, it really is like a sitcom, and it started out as just a sequel to a movie where no one liked the first one, but now there's kind of an interesting plot twist. And a plot twist I would like to see? I would like to see a plot twist where everybody gets to debate. That's the plot twist I would like to see.
Yeah.
I would like to see you up there, Jill.
Oh, yeah.
And even though I don't like the guy at all, I would like to see RFK up there. Even I think and the libertarian, Chase Oliver, and then Claudia. I mean, they should all be up there and actually exchange ideas and actually. Dare I say, look like a parliamentary system. That while those systems are not utopia, there's no such thing. They work a lot better than we do. I was in Italy the day Giorgia Meloni got elected. I'm not that big of an
there 2 days after.
Oh, really? I was so my Italian cousin got married, and it coincided with their election. So I was in Italy the day she got elected. Not a lot of happy people that day. They just elected a fascist. It was the lowest voting turnout since Mussolini. Not a lot of happy people. But I gotta say, as an American, it really put a certain perspective for me, because the way their system works, it is a more parliamentary style system. There are more parties that do have a say, and the left flank, which is Verdi Sinistra, which means green left, they got like I think 10 or 11 seats. And I was just sitting there and I was like, that would be like if the Green Party got 11 congressional seats. I'd be ecstatic. I would be dancing in the streets if the Green Party got 11 seats. I'd be going nuts. And that was bad for them. They were like, oh God, this election was terrible. And I'm like, you guys, like, oh man, and that's why I green entered not too long ago, because I'm like, look, our system is not set up that something like that can happen. So I want to fight for that change. And, you said this to me a while ago, Jill. It's like, if you really want to fight for that change, you got to join up.
Yeah. It's not, it's party politics is a very mixed bag, very flawed animal, but, pick your poison here, I mean, and now we know, now that the Democrats have actually gone public and have publicly advertised for their infiltrators and their spies, it really raises questions in my mind about some of the dysfunction that, that we've been fighting within the Green Party, and how much of these, crazy, factions are are on somebody's payroll. And, you know, I think that's not rocket science at all. And you never know what's just kind of plain old kookiness and, you know, what's an infiltrator. You never know, but you have to, you know, you have to be a part of the struggle if this is just the nature of the beast. And you have to fight for an organization that's gonna represent us. And right now, you know, there are a couple of progressive organizations and they're great. And in my view, we should all be working together right now. We need to take a lesson from France. This is how we beat fascism. And, you know, I would love to see us hold a conference and hear from progressives about how should we handle this? Because what the progressives and the centrists decided to do in France, you know, together with Macron, they decided to use the candidate strongest in that district and rally behind one candidate who could then win. I mean, if we had ranked choice voting, we wouldn't have to negotiate like that. But why don't we work together on ranked choice voting and proportional representation? And in the meantime, let's fight fascism with a unified front right now.
Yep.
Why are we running three presidential campaigns? I mean, to my mind, this is nuts. And I never would have jumped in myself had it not been the fact that we had all the ballot lines and no one else was going to get on the ballot for a majority of voters. So we kind of had to do that. But,
well, I had Shamu on a few months ago and I was like, so, and he's like, no, I can't. And I'm like, no. So, I mean, look, I know you're not going to tell me, but I'm just going to ask, who's the VP?
I hope we can announce that in the next couple of weeks. We're still in.
Oh, I thought you were going to say days. I'm like,
oh, if only.
But you do have one.
Well, not yet. We have a couple of really great possibilities.
I'm sorry, you guys. It's not me. Apologies. People ask me to run. They're like, even if it's city council, I'm like, have you heard my mouth? No.
Yeah, I'm the same way. People ask me, so someone asked, they're like, why don't you run for office? And I was like, look, if I ever run for office, only two people on the planet could benefit. The first person who would benefit the most is my opponent. The second person who would benefit is myself, because I would have a free marketing team for however long the campaign was.
There you go.
You know, this is the United States. They would find plenty of clips of Rob Placone saying he's an abolitionist when it comes to prisons, when it comes to the police. Rob Placone saying he's against private property. All those things are true. When you actually listen to what it actually means, it, in my opinion, sounds very, very reasonable. But we live in an age of sound bites. So that would be used as, you know, character assassination. And I would have no chance in hell at anything. So my opponent would have a field day, but I would get, you know, some free publicity online out of the whole thing. So that's why I don't run for
office.
I should just put in a quick word here because I have an interview.
Oh, yes.
Coming up soon. So I will have to draw to a close here shortly. And let me just throw out again where people can donate, which is jillstein2024.com. We have to crowdsource this because we are the one pro-worker, anti-war, anti-genocide climate emergency campaign that is on the ballot for a majority of voters. And we are there already. We need to be on the ballot for all voters if we're going to overcome the this effort to silence and marginalize these movements. And remember, when these movements join together in a race that has three candidates, which are pro-genocide and pro-war, that's a four-way split. If you divide the vote four ways, you can win it with as little as 26% of the vote. In a poll that just came out today, we were at 4% nationally. So, you know, and among people under 30, I think it was, we are, I think it's 6%. So the numbers are starting to come up where people hear about the campaign. And if we get on the ballot, then the media will be forced to cover us. That is, if we're on the ballot for all voters, they will be forced to cover us. And we're going to see people really you know, people are very hungry for what we're talking about. So this is a very powerful, irrepressible agenda. So if we stand up together to fight, we are an unstoppable force, whether we get into the White House or we simply get into a stronger position to then continue the fight. The fight doesn't stop on election day. It's only just begun, and we have no choice but to fight it because the ship is going down and it's not going to save itself. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So let's stand up and fight. And thank you all so much. Thank you, Ron, for coming on. Thank you so much, Joy.
Good to see you, Jill. Thanks for everything you do. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, you too. So
you're so welcome. And yeah, thank you all for donating. That's so important. I am actually going to release this to everyone now and continue to ask people to donate. You guys all donated at least $10. You got to watch it live. Thank you so, so much. It means a lot to us. Jill, this is actually the 8-year anniversary of Occupy DNC, believe it or not.
Wow.
First time I met you, first time I saw you speak, that hellish week. So hopefully we don't have to go through that again, but we will if we have to, because we are going to continue fighting for Palestine and for the working people for sure. So thank you again so much for running. Thank you for doing an incredible campaign. And thank you for joining me and allowing me to try and do what I can to put a dent in what is needed.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Let's all keep up the fight. Unstoppable together. Free Palestine.
Much love, everyone.
Free the USA. Take care. All best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for